The Assassins Part 1. The craft of political assassination was developed in West Asia more than 1,000 years before modern governments had covert intelligence services. This art's creator was Hassan al-Sabah, a mysterious figure cloaked in exotic mystery about whom as much accurate information as disinformation has been passed down to us. The Seljuks significantly tipped the scales of power in the Islamic world in favor of the Sunnis. The turning point in this conflict was Taghrul Beg's triumph over a joint challenge from the Fatimids and the Buyids, 1056 to 1060. The tide of the Fatimids turned away from Cairo after this triumph. Baghdad's Abbasid rule was solidified. From that point on, Muslim history will be dominated by the orthodox interpretation of Islam, with a focus on its Hanafi and Asharit elements. This is not surprising given that the Turks supported the Asharit intellectual viewpoint in the Hanafi fiqh. The Fatimid response to their failure in Baghdad was a deadly covert conflict aimed at the Sunni Muslim leadership. Assassinations were carried out as a political tactic. Hassan al-Sabah was the mastermind of the assassin movement. Early on, Sabah studied with Nizam al-Mulk, who went on to become the most renowned vizier of the Seljuk era. It is said that Sabah's attempts to rise to a high position in the Seljuk government were rejected. He converted to Islam, either out of conviction or out of spite, and with the approval and complicity of the Fatimid caliphs in Cairo, he turned his pointed knife at the top of the Sunni hierarchy. Hassan al-Sabah fled to the mountains of northern Syria, Iraq, and Iran with his supporters. He established his headquarters at Halamid in the isolated Mazandaran mountain range and unleashed terror on the Seljuks. Hassan was at the top of the pyramidal structure that served as his covert organization. He was known by the name Sheikh al-Jabal. The Dais, who were instructed to spread the movement, were placed next in the hierarchy. The Fidayeen, who served as the servants of their master and were indoctrinated as faithful followers of Hassan's doctrine, were situated beneath the dais. They were given the task of carrying out the assassinations in the remote areas of the Islamic dominions. The uninitiated recruits, known as Rafiqs, were at the bottom of the ladder and were undergoing indoctrination before being inducted as Fidayeens. The name assassin comes from the Arabic word hashashin, those who take hashish, as the Fidayis took hashish as an ecstasy and carried out their killings while under the influence. Although some was cultivated locally, the majority of the hashish was imported from India. Ganja, a substance comparable to marijuana that is still commonly farmed and used throughout the subcontinent, is the Hindustani word for hashish. The movement of assassins is also known as the Fidayin movement, and its adherents are known as Fidayin. It is referred to as the Nasiri movement in Turkish. Both titles imply a readiness to sacrifice one's life for a cause. The Fidayin were known as Mulahida in Arabic. Hassan established a magnificent paradise with fruit orchards, gardens, and hundreds of stunning young women in a valley adjacent to his offices. Hashish was used to excessively narcotic the recruits before they were carried into the valley. The young men believed they were in heaven as they awoke in the presence of lovely women among the gardens. Here, they were heavily indoctrinated with the assassin movement's secrets. There were all the necessary components for cult indoctrination: a grievance, a procedure for resolving the grievance, and a celestial reward for the greatest sacrifice. The initiated were expected to submit completely to the master's orders. To avenge the Fatimids' defeat at the hands of the Seljuks, the graduates were set loose on the wide realms of the kings and sultans. The Fidayin were supported by a massive, well-organized intelligence network that operated from Cairo to Kabul and had extensive access to the palaces of sultans and emirs.